Just go. Oh, hold on. Oh, I love this song. Thank y'all. We're gonna get started. I'm just making sure that we on this that I'm streaming live. This is my song. My grace is sufficient for you. For in your weakness, that's when I'm strong. Though you don't see me, you're never alone. My grace is sufficient for you. My grace is sufficient for you. For in your weakness, that's when I'm strong. Why does it look so crazy? Let me see. I made another mess. I failed another test, yeah. And before I could even solve it, here comes another. Okay, yay! I know you. All right, thank you guys for waiting. So, welcome to the Wednesday live session. My name is Yannick Medor. If you don't know me, I am a minister, and I've been, recently minister. I graduated from the Kingdom School of Ministry maybe like a year or two ago. There we go. And then I'm also an executive coach. I've been doing that for the past 12 plus years. I won't say exactly how long because then y'all gonna know a little too much. But for the majority of my adult career, I started off as a business owner in sales. And so I had a direct sales company teaching people how to do field sales, things of that nature. And what my purpose in life is and what my assignment is to do is to help pull people's destiny out of them. And the reason this is so important to me is because so many people have had to do this for me as well. And how many of y'all know everybody needs a push? Thank you so much for following Dr. BK Jackson. I appreciate you. So what's up, Thomas? And what I'm telling y'all, I teach, this is the thing. I don't know. Y'all ever feel like y'all been in denial like your whole life? Literally every aspect of my life in some form or fashion I teach. Whether I'm teaching entrepreneurs and executives, whether I've been teaching people sales skills, where I've been teaching people how to dance, how to eat right, how to exercise, how to pray, how to go through deliverance. All I do is teach, and I don't know. I just have a desire to do that in the areas of life that I find to be gratifying and important. And so I go live every single Wednesday teaching on some sort of topic that's going to help you, meaning there's something that's going to help you pull your destiny out of you. And my thing is, if you are waiting for destiny to come to you, friend, you are absolutely going to miss it. And one of the things that are so important to me is for people to live out their purpose and for you to really live the type of life that you desire to live. Whatever the picture is that you have in your mind of what you would love for your life to be like, I want to take it from like that daydreaming aspect into the place to where you really are living that, or you're at least in process to making that a reality. Because the only difference between people living their dreams and those who are not are just the people who are living their dreams and living the life that they want. They just dare to do it. That's it. They just dare to do it. They were like, you know what, screw convention. I'm going to live my life. And they started living their life on purpose. That's it. And I remember when I made that change, I used to be that person that always did what I felt like I had to do. Right? Thank you so much, Thomas. Y'all go to Thomas's page. If y'all see him in Atlanta, he out dancing, y'all need to go. Okay? Thank you so much, Kelly Sue. I really appreciate that. I have to switch my hair up for my husband. You know, sometimes you can't let y'all ladies, when y'all get married, don't let them think that they know you, like they just know everything. Sometimes you got to switch some things up so that way they feel like they did meet a new girl. You know, because the key is for you to switch it up so much to where when you leave the house, you're like, hold on, where are you going? Oh, I'm going to the grocery store. What grocery store are you going to? Why are you dressed like that to go to the grocery store? If they not asking questions like that, it's a problem. All right. Or the best thing is, you know, make it to where he feels like he has to go everywhere with you. Like, oh, if he feels too comfortable, like, oh, I'm going out with my friends. Oh, okay. All right, see you. Right? The problem. Switch it up, switch it up, switch it up. So anyway, you have to start living your life on purpose, but we live in a society that teaches people to do things backwards. Meaning we think that life is lived from the outside in. So you think just because you got the house, you got the title, you have 3 degrees, you got the marriage license, you did all of these other things, you made your face look like this, you got the BBL, you got the tummy tuck, and there's nothing wrong with any of those things, right? Like if you want to get your booty done, get your booty done. But I want it to be to where you already feel great about yourself, and this is something extra, and not with the expectation that this thing that's on the outside of you is going to change what you're going through on the inside, because it's not. It's absolutely not. You can go and get all that stuff done and still feel just as broken, still feel just as behind, just as lonely. And that's the worst thing when you invest a lot of time, energy, into something external, thinking that it's going to change the internal. You go through this super long healing process, you're in pain, you do all these things thinking that something's going to change, and then nothing changes. That's the worst place to be in, because you're like, well, what was it? What was all of this for? What was all of this for? Why did I take the time to do all of this and it feels like it's for naught? Right? What was the point of any of this? And so that is kind of like the place that we get to in life. So y'all continue. Thank you so much for liking it, Thomas. And so, like, what was the point of all of this? And so I try to help people really use strategies that really get them to that place, and not to make them feel as though they've gotten there and just to be let down. And so all of my strategies start from the inside out. How do you feel about yourself? Your perspective, how you clue into life, how you identify, how do you define yourself? What are your belief systems? What do you believe is possible for you? How do you, whatever you see, how do you translate what you're seeing in your environment? And just really challenging people's perspectives, so that way they can gain the perspective and the mindset that's consistent with what it is that they're looking to achieve. For instance, I've spent my entire career coaching and developing entrepreneurs. Doesn't mean that I'm only working with entrepreneurs. It's just that that's the background that I come from, so I can relate to it, and I have the experience to just to help them out. Like I know what it's like to be on the grind. I know what it's like to start businesses. I know what it's like to fail. I know what it's like to succeed, to walk away, to walk towards, to do all of those things. So I get it. I know what it's like to hire. I know what it's like to fire. I know what it's like to have a big team, of employees and have everyone quit on you. I just know what all of those things are like. What it's like to have pressure from clients, having to talk with your accountant and they're like, oh, ain't no money in here. Or speak with them, they're like, well, you're gonna have to spend some money. Otherwise, Uncle Sam is just gonna get everything. Like you can't be this cheap. And that's let me tell y'all, that's one of the best conversations you can have with your accountant, is when your accountant is like, look, you can't be this cheap. Because if you continue to be this cheap, Uncle Sam's just gonna get the money. Because you would go through a time where things are so difficult in your business or in life that you literally just don't spend any money, and don't mess around and you don't spend any money and you make a lot of money. All that equates to being as a huge tax bill. Because when you're an entrepreneur, it's the money minus your expenses, then you're taxed. So if you have no expenses because you went through a hard knock life, and I'm speaking for myself because I've been in this place before, where things were so tough to where by the time you are making good money, you're so scared to spend money that your accountant is like, look, if you don't spend on money, your tax bill gonna be out of control. So just knowing what to do with all of that. And what I found through all of these years of coaching and developing leaders and executives is really the only way that things change is if you can get that person to change their mind about something. That's it. Once you can get them to change their mind about something, whatever, and everyone has something that they need to change their mind about, the rest just opens up. But you can give someone the best strategy. You can put them in the best network. What's up, Bobby? I haven't seen you in a while. I don't know why I said it like that. What's up, Bobby? When you name your child Bobby, you're asking for people to say their name like that in some sort of way, like Bobby Boucher. So, so everyone in some form or fashion has to change their mind about something. And nothing changes until you change your mind about whatever that thing is. Whatever that thing is. It could be about money. It could be about relationships. It could be about people, time, how to manage, what you believe people should do and think and believe. There's always something, whenever you're not seeing the results that you want to see, there's always something you got to change your mind about, period. And so what I found is what we're talking about today is the beginning portions of that is someone needing to change their mind about themselves. Because sometimes we think we're making all these decisions and it's everyone else, but it's really how you see yourself that's creating all of these problems. And I'm going to give you guys some examples of it. Because last night not last night, but this week, I decided to host a workshop this weekend, and it's called Healing Your Identity and Self-Image. And your identity is how you define yourself, and your self-image is what you believe about what you can obtain. And if either of those things are in conflict with the life that you want to live, you're not going to see it. And this is the part that makes it really, really dangerous. Some of y'all said something that was filtered by TikTok. So write some emojis, because TikTok can be a little finicky and sometimes can over filter, and my lives don't generally attract a lot of spammers or weirdos. So you probably tried to say something nice and then they filtered it so I didn't see it. So just go ahead and write it again. So like what you'll find is usually if someone feels stuck or they're having a hard time like breaking through a certain barrier, I don't care if it's in their relationships, like you're like, look, I've been single forever. It seems like I could never meet anyone nice. I don't care if it's in your financial life. I don't care if it's in your mental health. I don't care if it's in your emotional health. I don't care if it's in your spiritual health. I don't care if whatever area it is, most of the time you're just seeing a reflection of your own identity and your own self-image. So again, your identity is how you define yourself, because all of us are acting out of our identities. We all are. And the problem with that is many of our identities were not self-imposed. Most people have learned to identify themselves based upon other people's opinions, other people's expectations, or their past experiences. But how many of you guys know that your past experiences typically just brought you either through a process, or your past experiences were based upon modeled behavior, meaning behavior you saw other people do that you just copied in some form or fashion. It could be based upon what you needed to do at that time. Right. Identity through other people's lenses. And sometimes it can, and it's the other side is just you've created an identity based upon your past experiences. But sometimes our past experiences are just based upon the environment and the season that we're in at the time. Right? But what happens when God delivers you out of that season? What happens when you're no longer in Egypt, but your identity was created while you were in Egypt? So you can literally not be in slavery and still see yourself as a slave, because your identity was cemented, while you were still in those bad environments. It's like any of you guys, which they're kind of passing on now. My grandmother just passed away at 94, and she was born in the first year of the Great Depression. How many of you guys have seen this? To where people who were born during that time were major hoarders. Major hoarders. Because they were like, look, they went through an experience where they didn't have anything, and they're like, never again. If the bottom falls out of this thing again, I'm going to have dresses. I'm going to have everything I already need in my house. Right. born in the 30s. So we've seen it. And we're going through like other aspects of that again. It's just going to be in other areas to where it may not be hoarding, but right now we see like emotional hoarding, right? Where it's like loneliness is at an extreme high. So you start hoarding relationships, right? Spending time with the wrong friends, constantly needing, you can never be alone, all this other stuff. Well, what if I go through another pandemic year where I'm locked in the house, for by myself for 20 years, or whatever that thing could be, right? So that's examples of how maybe your identity and how you define yourself and how you see life was based upon past experiences. Well, I'm telling you that you need to define yourself based upon the destiny the destiny that's in you. Meaning, you need to define yourself based upon wherever you plan to go. That's it. And the thing about your identity and how you define yourself is that it's not fixed. It's only as fixed as you make it. But it's actually very pliable. It's extremely pliable. You can literally make a decision about yourself today and live out the fruit of that experience tomorrow. Like, one of the things that I've been like decreeing over myself every day is that I'm organized. And the reason being is, for years I used to say that I was disorganized. And of course, I lived the reality of that experience, because I would tell people, I'm just not a super organized person, blah, 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 blah. And it would give me an excuse to be haphazard about everything that I did. And since I've been saying, look, you're organized, you're organized, you're organized. Now I'm like, okay, let me get my calendar invites. Let me get my office together, all of my paperwork together, my house together, everything is in order. And now it's just such a peaceful experience, because of that. What's up, Horn? So you want to make sure that your identity isn't in conflict with the life that you want to live. And how I came to this is, I was almost known as like the Undertaker in a sense. Um, and so in the corporate world, let's say you had like a sales manager or a director or an employee or a CEO or a partner where people thought like, man, this person is a lost cause. I would be like the final person that they would send this individual to. Or it could be a team, right? Like an entire team or a location in a franchise where they've been lagging, they've been off, whatever, and they were like the lost cause. I was like the last little hoorah, the last person. Like, look, I'm gonna send you to her. And if she can't do anything with you, nothing can happen. And what I found is that most of the people, when you go into those places, whether they were CEOs or a group or a team, all of them had the potential to do great. It's just that no one was identifying the problem at hand. And so we typically, and that's why the name of this is breaking convention. Usually when people see someone, they use conventional methods to try to get to bring someone or a business through a form of breakthrough. But a lot of times the conventional methods of success don't apply to the people that are there. Like, you can't use conventional methods a lot of times with creative people because they don't think in alignment with convention. And I dare say that you cannot use conventional methods with most people, because most people and all people are made and are very different. They're fearfully and wonderfully made, and they were all created to do something a little bit different. And so what you have to do is kind of dig deep to figure out, how is this person made? What is it that they're destined to do? And develop them based upon that. And so I would go into these places and ultimately just figure out the beginning portions of everything was how they define themselves. Typically, if you have a losing team, somewhere along the way, they took that on as their identity. Like, for a long time, it was the Detroit Lions. I'm sorry, but there was a time period to where if you got drafted to be a Detroit Lion, you're like, we ain't gonna win the Super Bowl. I'm here to get my check. And the best case scenario, I can get traded. Are there teams like that now? I don't follow sports now. Is there like a modern day equivalent to the Detroit Lions where people just stop expecting for them to win? It's like it don't even cross your mind. Like a good year is if they make it to the playoffs. Are there teams like that now? Where it's like even the people, even their fans, they don't go to the bar with any expectation. They're just loyal. They've just said, I am loyal and I'm not here because I expect them to win. I'm here out of loyalty and commitment. Are there teams like that now in the NFL or in the NBA where you just, as soon as you say their name, everyone's like, they gonna lose, ain't no way. Like people don't even watch the game, it's just on. No, that's good then. So it's the same thing with people. Sometimes you can be, with a group of people or individual that they just stopped expecting the win. They stopped, hey Barbie, how you doing, girl? So they stopped expecting the win. When you no longer have expectations, that's when you know the devil's won. When you no longer even expect for things to get better or to change, you just completely settle. And if you've gone through a season of losses, then losing becomes a part of your identity. So what you can't do is wait until you have a win to change that identity. You have to start decreeing that over yourself immediately, so that way you can put that out there in the atmosphere so you can go ahead and call forth your wins. Now, one thing I'm going to do at all points is I'm going to attack everything in the natural and the spiritual at the same time. Because I know if I attack it from both aspects, I'm always going to win. Anything it is that I want, I will pray about it. Lord, send it to me, and I call it forth. I don't wait until I see it. I call it, just like I call my dog. If I were to call my dog right now, eventually he's going to come. Well, he's been acting a little funny today. I don't know what's wrong, but he's been real temperamental. My dogs have been kind of off and mad at each other for like the past week or so. I don't know what's going on. Both of them, they got something going on, but they don't have nothing to do with me. So I've just been minding my business. But the same way that I would call my dogs and expect for him to come, right? I'm going to call forth whatever it is that I want, expecting it to come, and act as though he's going to come. Like if I really called my dog right now, my door's closed. So if I knew and I had faith that he's going to come, I'm going to open my door and call him and keep the door open. Why? Because I know that he's going to walk through the door eventually, right? He's probably like, I wish you would open the door now. Why are you using me as an example? But you got me locked out your office. So I'm gonna, right? Really? Yeah. I'm sure he's outside the door, because usually I let them sit in my office while I work, but just their spirit's not right. I don't know what's going on with these dogs. So anyway, so I call it forth with expectation that it's going to happen, and then I act out the thing that I know that's going to happen. That's actually the definition of faith. Faith is not belief or just trying to posture your mind and saying, I'm not going to give up on myself. That's belief. So like when you really believe in yourself, that's why we're talking about healing your identity, because you're not going to have any faith if you don't heal your identity, because your identity really demonstrates and really formulates what you believe about yourself. You get it now, you see? So that's why I'm been talking so much about healing your identity. That's why we're going to do this workshop on Saturday. I don't care. Well, last night I said I don't care if it's just the three of us, but we've already had some people sign up, so it's going to be more than the three of us. But if you want to attend, it's this Saturday from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Just go to my profile, click the link, and go to Healing Your Identity and your self-image. So if your identity is obstructed, there's no way that you're going to have faith, because faith is an action. So when it says, hey, it's impossible to please God without faith, the reason that they say that, and the reason that the Lord says that, is because he says obedience is better than sacrifice. And faith is when you act on what it is that you're hearing. So if God is like, hey, I'm going to take you out of Egypt, out of slavery, and send you to the promised land, and you say, okay, but you never pack up your house, you never have faith. Because faith is saying, hey, I'm acting on what I know is going to occur, although all of the okay, now, see, you get it, Kelly? See, I love it when people start to get it. Because now that you got it, you don't have any excuse. Because once you get it, you got it. You just have to remind yourself of it. But because many people don't really define what this means and gives examples, we just say these things and no one knows how to put it to work. And when you learn all these things, you hear all these things, but no one ever puts it to work, then you just get religious. You're just saying these things and believing these things because it's what you're supposed to do, but you're not actually living it out or seeing the fruit of it. And that's when people are like, that don't work. Then you see people doing witchcraft in the woods because they're like, I see the results of this, because they're acting on what it is that someone's told them. Hey, go do this, light a candle, burn some sage, say this, read this scripture, find a squirrel, do da 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 da, and then they go and do it. Versus sometimes we'll say things but we don't really give people direction. So you heal your identity because that is what impacts your belief. And so if the belief isn't there, then there's no way you can act in faith because you're only acting on what you already believe. And so the faith is the taking action on what you believe about yourself. And so sometimes we're sitting there and we're getting stuck and we're doing all these things, and we took this course and you went back to school and then you got your booty done and then you found the perfect this and you follow everyone's instructions and nothing happens. And nothing happens because you never actually changed the belief. And it's not until you change the belief to where you can attack things based upon unconventional methods. Does that make sense to y'all? And so this is why I always, when I work with clients, the first place I would start off with is their identity and their self-image. Because no matter what sort of structure I give them, no matter what kind of system I give them, I don't care if I gave them the best recruiting scripts. I don't care if I change everything about their website. I don't care if, I had the best meeting with their employees. If I don't change their identity and their self-image, I can bring them all the seed. And they get in front of that recruit and the recruit's like, something ain't right. Right? I can bring them the best employee and the employee's like, I can bring them, I can have a great meeting, but when you go and stand in front of your team and you talk to them, they're gonna be like, this person crazy. Like there's always going to be something that's off. And so you restore the leader first, which you're the leader of your life, and then you operate from the inside out. And so I wrote down a system because one of the things that's really hard, especially when you've been doing something for a while or you're a prophetic person, sometimes we don't really document our systems. And I want to get better at documenting and explaining the whys and the hows behind things, because you just get in there and you do something. And now I'm in a place where I'm like, I know I need an assistant, I know I need all this, and I don't want to be leading somebody and just not be able to break anything down. So this is how you're having an identity issue. The first thing is you lose faith and motivation early in the process. So especially when you're getting into the areas of the unknown. So you don't need a strong identity to do what's conventional. Like, when you apply for a job and you've done the job 50,000 times and you know like the back of your hands, you don't have to think about it. It's like driving from the grocery store to your house. You're not thinking, make sure you turn right here, do this. You're barely even paying attention. And that's why they say rote behavior is actually when people get in the most accidents, is when they're on their way home and going to the places that they already know, because their mind they're so used to what they're doing that they're no longer paying attention. Any of y'all ever drive home and you're just so deep into that, you miss your exit 5 exits from then, and you turn around, you're like, oh, I passed my house five minutes ago. Whenever you do something that's already conventional for you, something that is not a risk you're already used to, your mind goes into rote, ROTE, rote status. So I'm not talking about the rote things that you do. I'm not talking about the part of your life that you've already settled into and really the part of your life that you just secretly hate. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about when you start deciding to live the life you actually want to live. When you decide to start the business, when you decide to go healing, when you decide, you know what, I'm going to be open to dating again. When you decide that you're going to do the work with your family, when you decide you're going to, call so-and-so and apologize to them from a million years ago. I'm talking about when it's time to take risk. So how do you know you have issues with your identity is when it's time to take risk, you lose faith and motivation early in the process. I'm looking at this whiteboard because I had written all this stuff down so I can look at it because I was trying to work through my process. You lose faith early and motivation early in the process. Now, early, some of y'all may be like a day or two, but really the process is something, depending on what it is, early could be 2 years in. If you have identity issues, you may get married and lose faith in the marriage 2 years in. Because there's part of you that always felt like that never really saw yourself doing it. And there's a part of your identity or where you have fear about it. And as soon as you start seeing indicators, you just run, right? So early in the process, depending on what you're doing, could be 2 years. If you don't see or say you want to go to medical school and that was like a part of your dream was to become a physician, and there's something in your identity that says you're not good enough, you may mess around, get in medical school and leave 2 years in for medical school. That's early in the process. You haven't really even settled in to the part where something gets easy. Excuse me, y'all. Something just went down my throat. My husband gave me this Jamaican taco. That was really good. I feel like there was a piece of rice right there. Another way of knowing that your identity is off is something in you always connects with being a victim. Or, Lord, let me put my glasses on. Either being a victim or an underdog. If you always see yourself in the lens of being an underdog or a victim of some sort, it's most likely you're having an identity issue. Other ways of seeing that is feeling like no matter, like God can take you into the promised land. You get the job. For some of y'all, you get the date. You already met your spouse, right? You go on the date with that person. But as soon as you get in there, you're like, what you trying to do? Right? And you just automatically assume you're sharing some info. Good. Kelly, you should join us on Saturday. Go to the link in my bio and just RSVP, get a ticket. Because I'm going to go into how to heal this on Saturday. So you got delivered into the promised land. You met somebody, you got the job, you did this, but you go in and you're like, you just assume that everyone's out to get you, right? And any evidence of that makes you kind of back off. I'm just going to go back to my old job. I'm just going to do this. I'm just going to do that, right? And really, it's really an identity issue. This is a big one. Y'all. You're hyper-focused on outside criticisms and judgment. So instead of worrying about how you're going to get this thing done and just showing up as your best self and how you're going to work this thing, instead of trying to find God's direction, instead of trying to solve challenges, solve problems, plan, get creative, right? Instead of using your energy towards that, you focus your energy on doing things in a way that will not elicit anyone else's criticism or judgment. Y'all get me? And so an example of that would be maybe you decided to start a brand. And so you have this great idea. And then you're like, well, I don't know. I mean, men and women, because y'all, everyone has some of the same insecurities. They just come off differently. But what I hear all the time is like, I'm just so old. People don't want to see somebody old do this, or people don't think I'm doing too much, or, so instead of focusing on how can I really relay and portray my brand, in the best light to my customers, you're worried about what the haters may think and making sure that no one could ever judge you or criticize you. And it's it's crazy because that's a big one. And I will say this, no, I can't even say that. That's a big one because you don't even realize that the fear of being judged and criticized has become a part of your identity. And it's mostly because many of us grew up in families that were very judgmental and very critical. And so you were kind of, during your formative years, you were, won't it? During your formative years, you really learn that there's a right and wrong way to do everything. And so instead of exploring in life, you were taught to make sure that no one can ever have anything bad to say about you. How far in life are you going to go worried about what people are going to say? Right? That's why God told us, do not be afraid of their faces. You know what that means? When you go do something and never, you can't start anything with the fear of this. You can't, because now instead of doing what you're called to do and living the life that you're desired, you're actually living your life to please those who are going to be displeased anyway. How many of you guys have learned, and if you haven't learned, you know now, highly critical people are never pleased. They're impossible to please. And they can find fault in anything, no matter how good. So think about how crazy it is and how unintelligent it is to do anything worried about what people are going to say or think, especially those people that are highly judgmental and highly critical. And typically those are the people that have nothing. And the reason being is you cannot call forth anything with that type of spirit. Only thing they can call forth is that's already dead. Because anything that's truly alive is not looking to be in the space of someone or something that's highly judgmental, highly critical. So you'll attack things, and part of your identity can come from the fact of like, hey, no one can judge me. So you always kind of have like a little shell up, and you're afraid to put yourself out there, and think about it like this, right? Everything that you want is going to require for you to create something. So, and to express some sort of creativity, right? Because every invention was created in someone's mind. Every city was created. Like someone had to say, this is what Atlanta gonna be like. Whether it's New York City, whether it's a family, look, this is what my family dynamics are going to be like. Fashion, housing, like there's someone who had like a planning unit when they developed a certain city or a certain neighborhood. There's like, this is what the houses are going to be like. So every time you create something, there's got to be some form of vulnerability, meaning you have to be willing to show what your idea is. And then once you're open to showing and sharing your ideas and what you think, at that point, you're at least giving someone the opportunity to buy in. And this is the key to business, is doing something different. Like, what is it about, the houses that, you're going to build, or your brand or your business or your method or your look or just you as a person that's different from what everyone is used to seeing. And so if part of your identity is you're afraid of being criticized and you're always looking at things from the lens of, am I going to be judged? Let me make sure no one has anything to say. Instead of serving your potential customers or clients and what you want, you actually end up just serving your haters, and they're going to hate anyway. They're never going to be happy. They're always going to judge. They're always going to be jealous. Because for every judgmental person, there was always someone else that was judgmental that held them back. And so this, like, look, subconsciously, they don't even realize, well, because I was held back, you need to be held back too. Because I'm not going to be the only person around here in bondage. And what you'll find is behind every critical person, every judgmental person is someone that's highly insecure and someone that's highly fearful of being left behind. And you can't let that get you. So if that's something that you deal with, it's very possible you need to do some work and look and join this workshop on Saturday to heal your identity. Um, Another way how you know that you need some help healing your identity and your self-image is when people talk you up and you have difficulty receiving the compliment, or you don't even identify with the compliment. Like you can be like, oh my gosh, Kelly is the best person. She is so smart. She's so creative. She's so great with this, that, and the third. And you're like, who are they talking about? She's the next big person, or Patrick is the next person in line. They're so this, they're so that. And you have a hard time believing it. And the reason you have a hard time believing it is how they're speaking about you. You never speak about yourself, and you've never acknowledged within yourself, because you don't really believe it until you yourself profess that thing. So someone can tell you you're beautiful every day, but if you wake up every day and call yourself ugly, it don't matter if someone tells you you're beautiful 5,000 times. Your subconscious is built to respond to your voice. So it filters in what other people are saying, but it requires your agreement. It requires your agreement. That's a biblical practice. How can two walk together unless they both be agreed? All right, I believe that is Amos 3. How can two walk together? I'm right. I'm getting better with that, Lord. Can two walk together except they be agreed? Is that the way it works? Yes, that's how it works, friend. So, y'all, and it works the opposite end. Y'all ever see somebody that you like, oh, Lord, they sure, Lord, you made everybody beautiful, but they think they're gorgeous. Right? It don't matter what nobody says. Because it could have just been their mama that was like, you is smart, you is important, you is beautiful, especially for a lot of boys. Because mamas do a real good job of that for their sons. You so handsome. You so this. And ladies, if you wonder why there's a lot of men out here that come down on women like they're a 10 and they're really a 3.5, I promise you there was a mama behind them that was like, you is smart. You is important. You are so handsome. And she said it so much, and eventually he's like, I am handsome. I am smart. I'm this. And that's why they get online talking crazy. And that's why. Because they came into agreement with that thing. So that's one of the ways that you know that you have to really do the work to heal your identity. And the thing is that people, you are really good at this. I know, girl, thank you. I'm gonna be humble, but really all it is it's a spiritual gift. When you see me, you're just seeing someone that is acting and operating the world based on their gifts first. Like one thing that can ruin your confidence is when you judge yourself based on areas that are not your gift. So like someone else may come and, teach a live session or come on live or do this. And if speaking and interacting with people isn't their gift and they do horribly, they may look at me and be like, I'm not as good as her. Well, no, friend. Because if I were to do the thing that you're gifted to do, I would look crazy. I can't judge myself based upon something that you're gifted in, because you can practice something and gain a skill. But if you go up against someone who has received a gift, like God blessed them in that area, and they practice too, you cannot keep up. Because they have a gift, and then they became skilled at their gift. And then you have something you've become skilled at. You can't compare the two. I don't even try. So what I say is, look, I'm doing the best that I can in this. and I don't even try to compete in the area of a non-gift. And I just learned how to applaud that person. Look, give them their accolades. Do your thing. So the key is for you to, and if you don't know what your gifts are and you don't know what you want, I have a workbook in my profile. It's called Cultivating Vision and Strategy. How I came up with that was I would be hired. It started off with the organization that I was in, and I was to meet with all the heads of recruiting, all their sales executives, all their. It is easy. Think about the things you're gifted in. It's always easy. The problem is we start trying to imitate other people, and we start trying to do things that we're not gifted to do. Like someone, let's say they're gifted in the hair industry. Every time they do hair, they make it look easy. You mess around and go to beauty school and you tearing everybody's head up. We do have too many distractions. Cliff, it's nice to see you in here again. Yeah, we go and start tearing people's head up because we're trying to mimic somebody else's gift. Doesn't mean you can't become skilled, but when the mark of a professional is that you make it look easy. And that's how you know someone's gifted at something is when they do it, they make it look easy. And it looks easy because they're anointed in that area. God gave them that gift. I don't believe in people operating in areas outside of their gifts. It doesn't mean that I won't do anything else, but I'm not putting a lot of time and effort into that. Why? I'm going to tell you, this is a spiritual truth. And this is, some of y'all are going to have a hard time taking this. Because I know there's a lot of religious people in this world. And you can not believe in God and still be religious. What's the nicest way I can put this? There's a big push in life about fairness, right? Fairness and equality. You always want to be compassionate, right? But the way that God works is based upon fruitfulness. So meaning, I'm giving this gift to the person that's going to do the most with it and get the most out of it. Who are going to do the most with it and get the most out of it. So, yeah, you may have had one talent, but he took that one talent away because you didn't do anything with it. And then we'll sit there and be like, why am I going through this season where nothing's happening? Because the thing that you have, you're doing nothing with. So what's the point of giving you more? Now you're just hoarding. You're just hoarding gifts. You're hoarding talent. Why should you be given more blessings when you do nothing with what you have right now? And sometimes we think about it as like, just with money. People always think about it with money, right? But money is just the fruit of using your gifts. It's just a method of exchange. So when you use it, what comes of it? Whose life is altered by it? Whose life becomes becomes easier because of it? How does it lift the load off of something or someone? How does it make this task easier? What does it do? And so, yeah, that's what you want to do. But back to what I was talking about. Another way of knowing that you need to do some work healing your identity and your self-image. And your identity is how you define yourself. And your self-image is what you believe about what you're capable of accomplishing. And so people that have a high self-image, you'll see that they're willing to take risk often because they don't have to like I have a client that has such a high self-image that sometimes I have to be like, okay, yes, but make sure you also do the work. Like still count the cost because their self-image is through the roof. I'm like, all right, y'all. So apparently there's a grant going out for $10 billion for whoever can build a rocket. And they're like, I'm building one tomorrow. Do you know how to build a rocket? No. Do you know how to be an engineer? No. Do you know math? No. Do I know that? But I'll figure it out. Okay. And often we see people who are like that. They actually end up doing it because they believe that they can do it. And the way that they see life is it's just a matter of time. All I have to do is put the pieces together. All I have to do is this. That's a sign that someone has a really healthy self-image and that person has a really healthy identity, is they see everything as, oh, what I do is this. Oh, well, you're going to need, $50,000 to do this. Okay, give me 30 days. We're going to figure something out. We're going to put it together, right? If you have an unhealthy self-image and an unhealthy identity, someone can tell you something like that, and you'll be like, well, I mean, how is that possible? I don't know where it's going to come from. You're looking for absolute certainty. See, people with a strong self-image, they just need clarity. Okay, this is what I need. This is what's going to happen. Okay, cool. I'm clear that this is what I need. Let me go out and find it. Someone with an unhealthy self-image and identity, they need absolute certainty. They got to know exactly how it's going to happen. When, boom, 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 boom. Meaning everything has to be lined up, right? And certain, meaning it has to practically be in their lap before they'll take action on it. And so you may say, well, I just don't like to take risks. Yeah, you don't like to take risks because you have very little faith, and well, you have very little belief in yourself, and therefore you have no faith. Right? Faith without works is dead. And that just basically means that you can't say you have faith and you do nothing that demonstrates the level of faith that you have. And the first area to start with is at least faith in your abilities. Right? Faith in your abilities and what you believe can happen. I don't know if I want to talk about that one, but I'll talk about it anyway. Well, this is a different one. Another way of recognizing that you have issues in your identity is you're never able to see how close you are to the goal. Everything feels like it's far away. You don't recognize how close you are to the goal. It can be right there. Sometimes I meet with people that have business goals, and I'm like, all you gotta do is boom, 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 boom. And they're thinking, man, I'm so far away. I'm about to quit. Whoa, 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 whoa. And literally like 12 weeks later, everything that they thought would take them 5 years were like right there. And it had nothing to do with the actual circumstance that they were in. And it had everything to do with their identity. They've embraced an underdog identity, and they're embracing, their beliefs are based upon what's happened in the past instead of what's right in front of them. That's how you know your identity's off, is that you can't see what's right there in front of you. I'll never meet a man. Girl, there's somebody waiting right now. He just called you. He just brought a cake to your front door. And I'm only getting, men, y'all do that too. But ladies, I feel like, because that's who I talk to the most. Y'all are the worst with that. I'll have single friends. They're like, I'm never going to meet somebody. Be like, friend, you met somebody last week. He's literally sitting on your couch and brought you a bowl of soup. Ladies, ain't no man just bringing you a bowl of soup. They're not really built like that. They weren't created to be the nurturing ones. So, if he shows up at your house with a bowl of soup while you're sick, crackers, ibuprofen, and Sudafed, I don't know, whatever else people take, right? There's nothing wrong with being single. There's nothing wrong with being single, Cliff. But what I'm saying is, Cliff, you don't hear all the conversations that I hear of ladies claiming that there's no men and that they can never meet anyone, and there's literally someone at the front door. And they're like, oh, he's just a friend. He just wants to be my friend. Girl, I don't want to be your friend. Men keep their friends for 30, 40 years. They've been having the same friends since 3rd grade. They don't need any more friends. Him and Jabari been friends since they learned how to ride bikes. His brother is his friend. He already meets with his friends every week. They watch the game together. He don't need any more friends. Not your friend. Now, sometimes that does happen, but yeah. Identity issue. You're unable to see what's right in front of you and how close you are to the goal. Men are seeing success rate low. Cliff, I don't know what you mean by that. You might have to reword that. Men are seeing low success rates. I don't know. But yeah, so that's some of the things that happen and ways to know that you need to heal your identity and your self-image, right? Um, and I think that's gonna. I hope that will improve. But really, everyone has to heal so that way the state of relationships just improve. We gotta get back to the core and the essence of what we really need to do. So those are some small ways of knowing that you're having some conflict in your identity, and your identity can't be fixed, right? Like, and it's just how you define yourself. It can't be fixed. And when you see people that have fixed identities, they've been saying the same things for 30 years. Well, I'm from the South Side. That's just how we are. Or it's like, well, in my family, this is just how we do things. Or, just whatever that silly thing is. I've always been this way. Right? Well, you've always gotten the results that you have. So if you want something to change, the first area in which you have to change is yourself, beginning with how you define yourself. Now, this is what is so important about identity. Identity is a soulish issue. It's a heart issue, right? Because it really deals with the mind, and your soul is just your mind, your will, and emotions. And for the life that you want, your life, when you think about the life that you want to have, your soul can't be in conflict with that. So it's like you can't say, "Hey, I want to be financially free," but you have you have a mindset that's in poverty or that's fixated on poverty. You gotta embrace a mindset of abundance, prosperity. And actually, Lord, I forgot this. I already went through that already. Oh yeah, that's big. I can't believe I forgot to go through this whole thing. I might just record that and put it up. But I'll talk to you guys about it now and then go back to record it. Okay. This is how we're going to break this down. I hope y'all are paying attention. So think about your mind. So every human being is made up of three parts. All right. You got your spirit, you have your soul, and you have your flesh. And then you can think of the world in the same way, right? The flesh is just whatever it is that you can see, feel, and touch, right? Everything begins in the spirit, meaning I find that most people who come to me for coaching or for development or anything, there's something in their spirit that's telling them something's off. Something's off. Something's not working. I need extra help. And although they may have settled into wherever it is that they are, there's something in them that says this is not good enough. You have more. There's something more in you. There's something more that you can be. Something can be better. That's their spirit testifying to them of what it already knows, right? And the beautiful part is the spirit knows what's in you in seed form. It with absolute certainty, it knows what's in you. Why? Because your spirit was formed before you even came to earth. And any of you guys, especially for any mothers or anything like that, maybe when you were pregnant, you get an ultrasound and you go and you kind of see your baby moving, right? And I remember my cousin, she said every time she went to go get an ultrasound, it was like her son would only show his butt. So whenever it was time for her to figure out, like, what's the sex of the baby? Is this that? Is this that? Every time it was time, he would literally show them his behind. And then when they stopped, he would start kicking around and just acting whatever. Lo and behold, she has the baby. He has the same personality. All right. So it's the same spirit, although there hasn't been, even though the flesh had not been fully formed in the womb, the spirit was already showing itself. His personality was already beginning to show itself, right? Even with, if some of y'all were like, are late night people, you were probably in the womb kicking at night, late at night, 2 and 3 o'clock in the morning, you just up doing stuff, right? Or some of y'all are morning people, whatever that is. That's an example of the spirit. The spirit always knows where we're supposed to be, what we're really destined in. And the spirit is always sending us these images of what we want our life to be like. So when you think, man, I would really love to do this, and it's a cabin out in the woods and blah, 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 blah. It's no coincidence that, maybe when you retire, you go by a farm and it's the happiest place you've ever been in your life, right? And it's because you finally allowed what's in your spirit to meet what's in the natural. You allowed those two things to connect. So this thing's been talking. It's funny, like, finally, we are in a place of wholeness, right? So you have your spirit. The spirit knows all things. That's where you get everything in seed form. Then you have the soul. This is the filter that everything that's in your spirit goes through. So this is your mind, your will, and emotions. And what you want to happen is for this filter to get clean. You want it to be brand new. So some people have a filter that's old, right? So where you may have some new desires, and you may have, you may have the desire for your life to be completely different, but the soul is still old. It's still dirty. And how many of you guys know, like, once the filter is old and worn out, it doesn't work anymore. And so whatever comes out of it, no matter how great the intention is, whatever comes out of it is still a little dirty. So when you think about it, it's like when you go and buy bottled water. All of the different types of water have a different taste. It's not that the water, like the components, is always H2O, right? No matter what. But by the time it comes out of that filter, it all has a different taste. Whether it was a natural filter like spring water, to where it's out there going through the rocks and carbon and all these other things that's naturally filtering it, whether you buy Dasani, which is the same filter as the city of Atlanta, of what comes out of our pipes. And at one point, the city of Atlanta got in trouble because they had updated their water filtration system. And now our water bills were there was a period where our water bills were out of control because they all of a sudden had to meet the standard of whatever the federal government has set for water filtration. So if you drink Dasani water, it's going to taste like City of Atlanta water based on that filter that they use. And then you can go through all the different ones, smart water, whatever, right? And they all have a different taste based on the filtration system. So it's the same thing with your goals. You can have this desire, but depending on the filtration system that your desires go through is going to determine what comes out on the other end. And so how you see yourself, your identity, your self-image, those are soulish things, to where if you don't do the work to change that filtration system, no matter how hard you try, what comes out on the other end is still going to taste a little weird. It still may come out dirty. So, because for some, they have no filter. I love when people say, well, I don't have any filter. I already know what the standard of your life is like. Right? Because you just decreed the fact that you don't have any filter. Your life has no filter. So we already know what to expect. There's nothing that's taking your life through that process of turning the seed into a harvest. It's just seed, death. Right? There's nothing that's pulling out the weeds, right? And so, you may have a filter that's still stuck in 10 years ago, but you're trying to have 2024, whatever your name is, iteration of yourself, but you're still using the filter from 1995. It's not going to work. So really what you have to do is make sure that filter is leaned towards living abundantly and the original intent for your life. And the original intent I embrace is the original intent that God had for us when he created us. and which is for us to have all that we need, for us to be in charge and to be in control, and to serve and to tend to serve and protect what's ours, right? His original, and for us to dwell closely with him, and for us to be healed, happy, communing with one another, and and just living in pleasure. So everything that filter, right, that I have is I want to make sure that whatever I'm doing is with that in mind. So I have to lean that filter towards abundance. And every day I have to do the work to make sure that my filter is set to that reality, and that everything in my mindset is inclined towards that reality. When you do that, you stop relying on conventional methods for everything. So if you're like, look, like one of the things that I had to decree over myself every day is I'm made in the image of God. God is limitless, so therefore I am limitless. And so with that being said, if there's something that I want, I don't rely on conventional methods to get me there. But when you don't have that as your mindset, you're saying, I can get that as long as this. And so you eliminate that lob. And the lob is like that buzzer beater. You know, who's the basketball player that hits those all the time? That has like the daughter. Well, she grown now. He plays for the. Who does he play for? Y'all know who he is. Light skinned guy. What's his name? Anyway, I'm gonna put best 3-point shooter in the NBA now. Steph Curry. His name came up at the beginning of the list. What's up, Sassy? And so, like when you only can rely on conventional methods to do things, you're not like Steph Curry. Steph Curry gonna try something. If he needs one shot to make the game and there's 1 second left on the clock, he is going to lob that thing from half court. Some of y'all won't shoot the ball until you get within whatever. He's like, we're going to try something. Right? And so next thing you know, he has this half court buzzer beater, right? But everyone else would have missed it because they're like, ain't no way I'm going to make it to half court by that time. He's like, I'm going to try something. Right? And there's times to where you think your goals are so far away because you won't allow yourself to embrace that this thing may come to you in an unconventional method. I forgot to say this. Y'all, please like the live. Sorry, I know y'all listening really well, and I appreciate that. But y'all like the live. TikTok just reminded me to remind y'all to like the live. So, but that's how you know your identity is off, is because you will always, always rely on conventional methods. That's why you think your goals are so far away. And a lot of times when I work, like I have a client right now that when we first started, this person's monthly sales in their company were really low. But when I looked at it and I said, well, this is all we really have to do. And literally 12 weeks later, this person's sales has tripled. And it's because we started together. She did the work. I just sparked it, right? We stopped embracing traditional and conventional methods. I said, what if the next 3 people that walked through your door are going to be the highest selling employees you've ever had? And lo and behold, we began with that expectation of this isn't going to be like a slow process. We're going to invite in people that are going to be record breakers, and we're going to train them and develop them and speak to them with the expectation of they're going to be record breakers that's going to change the entire trajectory of the business. Why? Because we don't have time to wait a whole year to turn this thing around. We need to turn this whole ship around within a few weeks. And I said, look, we're going to start this year saying all the goals that you had that you thought it was going to take you another 5 years to complete, we're going to complete them this year. You've already put the time in. You have the experience. Now it's time to where we're going to use unconventional methods, and we're going to get unrealistic about what we can achieve. And the worst case scenario is that we hit some of the unrealistic goals, and then some of them will rely on conventional methods to get there. So we're going to have unrealistic goals, right? And we'll use conventional strategies to get there. And a lot of times that is what works. Because when you have low goals, what ends up happening is the things that you are in control of, and when your identity's off, you don't even have the motivation to do the things that you're in control of that can be the difference maker. And it's because your identity and your self-image is that filter that everything goes through. And so it's not until you heal that thing that you're going to decide to take action. Because how you see yourself, that's a part of your soul, your mind, your will, and emotions. And that's your heart. When you see in the Bible where it says your heart, it's just another word for saying your soul, your mind, your will, and emotions. And God tells us to guard our heart because everything that we do in life flows from it. When you're healed and you heal that soul, all the ideas come. You start walking with a different level of swag. You stop caring about what people think. You're not acting out on your insecurities. Right? Like, for instance, I posted a video about the lady who was screaming at her son's award ceremony. And what people didn't really see is that it wasn't about her son. She reacted because she felt insignificant. And therefore, when she saw her son didn't get an award, she's like, you're not going to make my son feel the way that I feel. In a scenario that had nothing to do with her son at all. That's it. It was just her wounds just bleeding out on everybody. So when your soul is wounded and your identity is off and your self-image is low, everything that's happening in life goes through that filter. So next thing you know, you're paranoid. You think everyone's trying to slight you. You're insecure, so you make everything about you. You're always offended because you take everything personally, right? Everything's an attack. Every problem is more evidence of something, whatever that something is for you. And everyone has something that you bring to the table. And so now here's the thing. Everyone has a filter, but no one else can fix your filter but you and God. That's the hardest part. And sometimes it's the hardest thing to accept, because although you're the only person that can fix the filter, it doesn't mean other people didn't influence the filter. So yeah, there might have been somebody who called you ugly, right? But you came into agreement with that. You took it in and you believed them. For everything negative that someone says, you got to be quick to respond. That ain't true. I rebuke that. You so stupid. Oh no, actually I'm highly intelligent. It's just you and I just see things differently. And we have different intended outcomes. Oh, you sound like, I'm fearfully and wonderfully made. Right? And whatever it is, you have to immediately say something to yourself that is consistent with the filter that you want to have and the reality that you want to live. Because it only matters when you agree upon it. That's why you have to be really particular about what you do and say to children, because they typically have not yet formed their ability to filter those things out. And children, like, your subconscious has not developed past the age of 8. And so when you speak to a child, they take in everything as truth. Y'all, when I was a kid, my dad used to just say some wild stuff to me, right? And he thought it was funny. Do y'all know that at one point my dad told me that Too Short was my cousin? When you tell a child something, oh yeah, Santa Claus is real, they're like, it is. They have no filter. And so they begin to form their identity, and whatever you say to them, they take as truth. And oftentimes what my job is to do, what's up? I don't know how to say your name. XODL. How you doing? Anyway, and so we have to do the work to take out some of the things that our subconscious took in as children, because we didn't have a filter and we didn't have the perspective of knowing, hey, this person is just, they're just, what's the word I'm looking for? they're projecting their internal feelings on me. Like if your parent goes, "You're so stupid," da 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 da. No, they think they're stupid, and really they're talking to your dad, and they're upset because you came to be because they let somebody else. They were stupid, following behind somebody else, and they're projecting how they feel about themselves on you. When you're a kid, you don't have the ability to filter through that, so it just goes straight into your subconscious. And so a lot of our adulthood is us telling and reforming our identity and pulling out some of the things that that hit our subconscious when we were kids that we just never took the time to reject. It's like picture, and because you are, right, whether you're some sort of soil, whether you're fertile ground or not, there's something in there that is like soil. And some people put some seeds in there for some green beans, for some strawberries, some really beautiful things in there that has produced a harvest to where you are today. So you went out and you started this business, or you started a foundation, or you did some healing, or you have a beautiful family, or you're really supportive, or you volunteer, or you give back, or you feed the poor, you do all of these different things, right? Those are seeds that came that were just great. But then there were also some people threw some weeds out there. And part of adulthood is doing the work to pull the weeds. But what you have to do is be able to identify the fact that, hey, there are weeds here. And if they've always been there, sometimes you'll look at it or you'll try to ignore it and you won't even recognize. Thank you for liking Cat. That's cute. I was watching some cat videos earlier. Your name's probably Catherine, but I don't know. Anyway, it's not until you see the harvest and you really inspect the harvest that you recognize that there were some weeds that were sown here. And so how you know you have identity, some issues with your identity, how you define yourself and your self-image is you look at the fruit. You might have some oranges there, some strawberries there, but what's that? What's that? And you have to look at your life and be like, what's that? Catherine, see? Thank you. So you look at it, Catherine, and you look at your life and say, hold on, what was that? Now, the hard part is some of those things are traumatic and they're embarrassing. That's how you know they're from the devil. They're traumatic, they're embarrassing. So what you do is you cover it up, you never look at it. Whatever it is that you don't look at, you want to uproot as a weed. You just like, thank you, bad apples. Nice to see you, friend. You won't even look at it as a weed because you're embarrassed about it. You felt shame about it. But really, you have no reason to be ashamed about it. It's just a bad seed harvested. And had you not seen it, you wouldn't even have known that you had something to uproot. That's why you have to really face the things that in your life that you were ashamed about. You have to take a good look at your identity, look at your decisions and say, based on the decision that I made, what does that say about how I see myself? You've got to be willing to have that conversation. Otherwise, you'll never identify the weed and you'll never uproot it. And so that's why sometimes we'll look at our lives and we'll have a mixed bag of results. Part of that is just life in the process, right? But the other part of it is you see the fruit of some really good seed, and then you're seeing the fruit of some weeds in there. And so life is about just going through and picking out the weeds, and no one else can do it for you. That's the hardest part. We always waiting for a savior, right? And the only thing you can do is let Jesus come and help you and identify and be like, that ain't supposed to be there, right? Your grandmama threw that out there 4 generations ago, but that was never meant to be. Somebody got hurt 4 generations ago, and now they have no self-control, and they deal with anger issues and violent issues. And then everyone started acting out of anger and out of violence. Hey, husband. Y'all say happy anniversary to my husband and I. We're going to do something tonight, even though he hasn't told me what we're going to do. right? So maybe grandmama or granddaddy threw some seeds out there that were weed. Okay, thank you so much. That were some weeds that, and they showed it, and everyone else just modeled the behavior. And you said, this is just how we are. And now it became a part of your identity. Thank you so, so much. It became a part of your identity. And now you're acting out of that identity and wondering why your life is mixed results. But this is the part that's weird, is that your spirit is constantly testifying to you, right? Because your spirit is connected to God. So in some small form or fashion, it's constantly screaming to you, something's off. We're not in the right place. You're supposed to be doing queen-like things. You're supposed to be doing king things. Thank you so much, Bad Apple. You're supposed to be doing queen-like things. You're supposed to be doing king things. You're out here acting like a squire, right? Something off. I know where you want to be, but the way you're acting right now, is it consistent with where it is that you want to be? And you're sitting here and you're doing all these things, and then you're unhappy. Next thing you know, you're dealing with massive anxiety. Next thing you know, you're dealing with massive amounts of depression, massive amounts of angst. And instead of looking at it as, hey, these are indicators, my spirit is telling me something's off, so it's making me uncomfortable, you just go medicate it. Or you use some form of escapism. Start drinking like crazy, smoking like crazy, partying like crazy, which is nothing wrong with partying, right? And having fun. But it's when it's out of balance where you're doing it as a form of escapism to kind of silence that voice. But really what happens is the voice just gets louder and it just takes up more space. And the reason it does that is because God got time. That's one thing I learned. You can run, but you can't hide because God got time. You don't have time. He has nothing but time and patience. Time and patience. So you think that voice is going away, but really it's just getting louder and louder and louder and louder and louder. And you just continue trying to run until eventually you just break. That's how I was. I just broke. I was like, all right, you got this. You got it. You got it. So these are the things that people don't talk about, right? That are major keys to unlocking what's next. And think about it. You've tried everything else. You've already tried everything else. You thought it was because you needed to switch jobs. You thought it was finding a new spouse. You thought it was the next relationship. You thought it was your body. You thought it was your hair. You thought it was the industry. You thought it was the fact that you thought it was your money. You thought it was all of these different things. And really what it came down to is you got to do the work on your identity and your self-image, because everything's being filtered through that. All of your decisions, your perspective, your mindset, your creativity, your confidence, right? Your belief in yourself, how you promote yourself, how you speak about yourself, what rooms you're willing to knock on, how many times you're willing to knock on the door, how many times you're willing to be rejected, right? Like, because when you know what you know, you're not afraid of rejection because somebody gonna like it. Somebody's gonna like my idea, someone's gonna like me, someone's gonna like my story, someone's gonna like my book, somebody's gonna like it. Right? I am a great fit for someone's corporation. Someone's going to like my business idea. Someone's going to like my food. You know that somebody's going to like it, so you're not going to be afraid to knock on the door. But when you have that identity issue, you're like, is someone going to? I don't know. And so everything you do is filtered from there. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this. And if you did, I want you guys to join me this Saturday from 10 to 12. It's going to be a short session, and I promise you, you're going to get a lot out of it. And we're going to talk about not only the issue of the identity, but I'm going to speak more about what to do to heal this problem and starting the process of giving you the tools to heal it. So not only am I going to give you the tools, I'm going to pray over you. We're going to do everything that we need to do to get this to the next level. And I don't care if it's 100 of us or if there's going to be more than 3 of us now, or if there's 5 of us, right? Whoever's there, we're going to go all the way in of making sure that By the time you're done, you get a fresh start. We're going to change that filter out. You're going to get a new filter in life, right? Your soul's going to get this new filter that's ready to bring what's in you completely out. I'm going to make that water just take it to the next level. We're going to make that water taste like Fiji. All right. And it's not going to taste like Atlanta and Florida water. That's why I don't drink Publix water. And that's why I don't drink Dasani water. Because there ain't nothing. If you want Publix water and you want Dasani water, just go to Florida or Atlanta and turn on the pipe and fill your water cup up. Because that's all it is. All right. We want your life to go through a Fiji filter, through that smart water filter, or whatever kind of water you like. Actually, I have a filter that from our refrigerator that I like a lot. And I think it tastes better than all of that, except Fiji. But we're going to fix that. So just go to my profile, click the link, and go to Healing Your Identity and Your Self-Image. And if you've been searching for what the missing piece is, this is the missing piece. And I don't care what else you do outside of that. Until this is fixed, nothing else is going to work. Identity, self-image. Your identity is how you define yourself. How you define yourself affects your behavior and your decision-making and your creativity and how you flow. Your self-image is what you believe about what you're capable of accomplishing. You will only work up to the level of your own self-image. If you don't see yourself being able to accomplish a lot, you're only going to work up to the threshold of whatever you believe you're capable of. People with high self-belief, they always work with that expectation. And it's far more likely that they'll get there. So thank you guys so much. Hopefully I'll see y'all on Saturday. And you'll join the rest of us who are going through this process. Because y'all, as I'm writing this down, I'm like, okay, Lord, you taking me to another level of healing too. Y'all don't think that things I'm teaching you aren't things that I'm working on as well. Because there's levels to everything. And some of these things, like this is something that I prayed about. And I was like, oh, this is what we're talking about? Literally, y'all, this is how important identity is, and this is how important it is to have your assignment. I literally have a worksheet, right, that says my coaching and ministry kingdom assignment. And it's 6 pages long. And whenever it's time for me to figure out what's next, what I should be teaching, I always go back to this document to make sure that I'm on point, other people say on brand, but it's not necessarily my brand, it's my assignment, and making sure that my life and everything that I do bears fruit. Meaning I'm not just doing this just to do it. I'm like, okay, if I teach this, whose life is going to get better? When I lay my head down at night, is God going to say, good job, or is it going to be like, you wasting time? And so if what I'm teaching doesn't bear fruit, then I'm thinking, okay, clearly I'm off. And so y'all, for those of y'all who have been joining the lives, who've been joining the small groups, who have been joining the Bad Girls Gone Good for God Bible study, all of that, I'm seeing y'all bear fruit. Y'all are writing books. I can't say this one because it hasn't popped that. I'm not allowed to say it, but y'all are reaching some new heights in life. Prayers are getting answered. Relationships are being restored. Businesses are being opened or revived. There's fruit that's coming. And so for those of y'all who are just now coming on and whatever, you're going to be a part of that too. And especially if you're willing to do the work. So thank you guys so much. Maybe I'll see y'all a little bit later, but otherwise, thank you. Enjoy your day. And click the link in my bio. Sign up today. Sign up today and I'll send you the access code within a few hours to where you can join on Saturday. So the workshop is this Saturday from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. 2 hours, we're going to get in, do the thing, go through the teaching. We're going to pray, do all that stuff and just get it done and watch what happens. And then watch what God does with it. All right, bye y'all.